This is essentially the finale video to my reviews. Yes, it took a long time to do all those and finish all those, but they're finally complete. To all new subscribers or anybody just happening to stumble upon this, what I'm talking about here is I wrote several stories far back in the community tab. And my work is highly controversial because YouTube is always deleting comments where I try to direct people to them. You know, if there's like, say, somebody that has asked me where to find those things, and it has happened, as soon as I post a response, it'll be deleted. Gee, I wonder why. And that includes my docu-series, too. I made the 96-hour invasion playlist. That was another work that ran concurrent to the events and the stories that I wrote in the community tab. The 96-hour invasion docu-series was 36 videos long, and it showed you exactly how hybrid, aka fourth gen warfare works. And no, Ukraine is not a full-scale war, or else those doctrines would have been done there. They've only beta tested them there because Russia is holding back 90 to 95% of their firepower, of their military. And I think they're holding them back for us. Because I think a lot of them are inside the United States. I'm not the only person who has said this. I'm just the only person I know that has gone into detail and in depth to the levels I've taken it to show how these things would work. And I've showed you these things based upon my own personal experience, my own knowledge, my own research, and how I've combined them and put them into orderly presentations. And guys, this isn't easy to do at all. This is actually quite difficult to compile the information and then have it all corroborate, as in like form it into a actual readable story, create a scenario script, and read it off, hold the camera, make the maps, and spend hours drawing drawings just so I could sort of bring it to life to the best of my ability. And I'm not the best artist. I'm not claiming to be at all. But I've tried to bring it to life to the best of my ability for you so that you can sort of get the general gist of how it works. And I think that I did a really good job conveying to everybody what they will need in a certain situation. And this is a summary of how it'll be. I've showed you how not only the hybrid war doctrines work in the stories and in the docu-series, but you know, this is showing you a glimpse of the future. You know, current events are all fine and dandy, and I think it's great that there's people out there that do a great job on them, like, you know, certain people like Project Rayman and, you know, my friend Ken, others. You know, there's others there. I just think, though, right now, we need to be future focused because you need to know how to navigate what is coming. And most people don't. They don't have the slightest clue. They just want to chase, you know, stories all day. But what good does that do you when you don't know how to navigate the end result? You know, I think it's great to monitor current events. It's awesome. But what I'm saying here is that you need to understand the end results. You need to understand how to navigate those results. The United States will be invaded. It will be occupied. Period. There's no ways around it. It's prophetic. It's in the book of Jeremiah. It's in, you know, it's in Dmitry Duduman's prophecy, you know, when the Chinese and Russian leader were talking about how they're going to carve up the United States, you know, how Russia's going to get Alaska back and China's going to get the lower 48 and all its people. Yes, he saw that. I've even had dreams of fighting foreign troops on our soil, aka occupiers, Chinese or Russian. You know, it didn't matter. They were all clad in black. You know, it could have been the Chinese, could have been the Russians. Hell, maybe it was both. But you have to understand and I showed you, I conveyed to you all the aspects of how not just the invasion phase would be, but the occupation itself. I showed you all the things you would need in an occupation. I methodically laid it out like building blocks, from beginning with organization, coordination, taking it all the way up to items and specific needs, and logistics and tactics, and building on the tactics little by little, starting from the most basic and going up to where you now have a more advanced concept of tactics and how they'd be used on the ground level. And I explained the extent of the logistics and how they would operate, not just in the invasion phase, but also in the occupation phase. Now, why would I show you those things? Because some of those things are going to be so dire, so important, like the logistics for, say, the partisans, for instance. What good are your supplies to you if you leave them all in one central location and you don't have them stored and cached in multiple different locations? What good are they to you if your home or wherever you have them is overrun or destroyed? Now you just lost everything. Now you have no food. Now you have no means to defend yourself. Now you have no water. You're just SOL. You're just out. You're just stuck out. You're out of luck. So you need to understand those things. The stories taught you how to do those things. And the reason I did the reviews was to point out specific things that you should have paid attention to in the stories, just to emphasize those things. That's the whole point of the reviews, was to emphasize the material within the stories and to show you specific key parts of the stories that mattered and why they mattered. It's all about showing you the how and the why, and what worked and what didn't and why, as I often say. I like to say that because it's true. You need to understand that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to fall in the invasion phase and the occupation phase, and the reasons why they're going to fall. They're not going to be organized. They're not going to be coordinated. They're not going to be wearing, armor of any kind. No body armor, no spiritual armor. And that's just the vast majority of people. They're not going to be well armed or well equipped to take on the sorts of combined arms that they're going to be facing of the enemy. They're just not. They're not going to be able to, know how to coordinate logistics and supplies. They're not going to know how to coordinate their efforts. They're not going to know how to do much of anything because they're going to be absorbed in the chaos and the confusion and the fog of war that'll come with the grid and the telecommunications and internet going down. There's going to be no way to coordinate. There's going to be no way to organize by that point, other than on your local level. And you're going to have to do the best you can there, like I conveyed in the stories, especially stories like Broken Bow, but also in the second story, which was urban and suburban based. You saw how they had to work with what they had. They had to take what they could underground and store it there as far as logistics. Same in Broken Bow. They had to take whatever they could out of town up into the foothills and store it there. And when that was overrun, they learned a hard lesson, and they learned that they needed to do what they could, carry what they could out with them, and it ended up being just barely enough to get them by until they can do some convoy raids to, acquire Chi-Com MREs and water that was meant to go to the fob and never made it there, I'll just say. So those are important lessons that I'm trying to convey to people, and, the tactics too. You're going to have to understand how the foreign troops are going to be employed against you, and what sorts of tactics they plan to use against you, and they will use. And that also is based off my experience, my military experience as a soldier in the Army. So what you can also learn from that is, if you know how to apply knowledge, is that you can also, if you have a small group of people, you can practice those very things yourself. Because, small groups working in teams with real tactics and battle drills are far more effective than a bunch of, fools running around aimlessly that aren't working together on a battlefield. So, for lack of a better way to put it, that's just how it is. And that was conveyed in the stories and in the reviews. So You might want to watch the whole playlist and watch 96 Hour Invasion again. Watch it, save it, copy it. It's free to all. All my material is free to all to use for whatever purpose. I don't even care if my name gets out there, just the material itself, because it's that important. I don't care. You can call it yours. You can say you made the material. But that's the bottom line. So I hope you enjoyed. May Yeshua bless.